In Melbourne, anti-immigration protesters and a pro-Palestine rally have clashed in the CBD.
Australia should have a 5-year immigration pause. Total pause. Not picking on any particular group, no one can come. Might be one or two little exceptions, but we have a 5-year pause, and then people say, oh, that'll hurt the economy. And I say, well look, I don't think Australia is that stupid and that weak that we need to bring in new people to pump up the economy. What we should do is abolish half of the government and have a 5-year immigration pause, and the country will completely boom. So that's why we're here today. There's a lot of libertarians, and we believe in the 5-year pause is my own personal view, but I think it's a very simple option, and we need to do it because we've just had way too many migrants coming in.
And what is your response to people critical, like what Albany said the other day and people like that, about this event and events like it?
Well, they criticised it before it took place.
Yeah.
So these geniuses could see into the future, and these geniuses said that there'd be Nazi flags everywhere. I can't see one. If anyone put one up, people would take it down. I've seen more Australian flags here since the bicentenary in 1988.
Yeah.
I'm here, I'm visiting, I wanted to go to an art gallery, it was closed due to protest. I came here and I'm like, I'm just not in agreement, I just want to silently voice my disagreement with what they're standing for.
Okay.
It upsets me.
Yeah.
Upsets me. So it's a quiet protest just to let them know. We're to have a lovely art weekend, but they ruined it for me.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. It's a bit of a chaotic weekend, but yeah.
I think it's hopefully a peaceful way to say I'm not okay with this.
When the Nazis showed up, things got a lot more heated in both Melbourne and Sydney.
Are you racist?
Yes.
And you're proud to be racist?
Yes, of course. Put our race first. We put our race first.
In Melbourne, counter-protesters clashed with anti-immigration demonstrators. One group of counter-protesters was even seen burning the Australian flag. That's when the chaos really kicked off. Cameras captured members of the neo-Nazi group, the National Socialist Network, or NSN, surrounding YouTuber Avi Yemeni after he called them out as the Nazis during a live stream. They were filmed assaulting his security team and demanding he leave the march. In one of the most shocking moments, some anti-immigration protesters even voiced support for Desi Freeman, the man accused of murdering 2 police officers who remains on the run in Victoria's high country. And in Sydney, Nazis were heard shouting, "Hail Australia," as the rallies continued. These rallies are showing that migration is becoming a major issue in Australian politics, with thousands down here today voicing their anger against the Prime Minister.
Final speaker for today is Thomas Sewell. Sometimes in life, you have to fight. Sometimes in life, there is a struggle. Now, you might not like the guy's favorite color or his particular opinions of history, but when you're in a fight with people that hate this country, sometimes you have to learn to make friends. I am aware of the fact that we are a controversial and antagonistic group to the government. I am aware of the fact that the media and the academics and the system and the banks, I'm aware that they hate us. I'm aware that the average Australian watching on television doesn't understand what we're doing all the time. I'm aware of that. and I've copped a lot of hate for it, and so have my men. But today, we had to prove a point. Today, our men stood at the front of the march, and when the Palestinians and the communists came charging at the Aussie flags, it was our men that fought back. Australia is in a fight for its survival. It might not be bullets and guns and bombs. It may be hearts and minds and information. And everything that we do is for Australia. It's for our nation. I'm not asking you to agree with me on everything. What I'm asking you to respect is that we need to put fighters at the front. I get asked all the time, what does it mean to be Australian? People ask me about pieces of paper, and I say to them that Australia is not a passport, it's not a piece of paper, it is a folk, it is a people, it is born, it is bred, and it belongs to us. Australia is beset on all sides by ginormous empires of the third world. We don't have to hate these people or set them up as our enemy. But there are 1.4 billion Chinamen and 1.4 billion Indians, and there are billions of other people in this world, and they all have a nation. They all have a home. And if we allow ourselves to be replaced and displaced in this land, if we do not maintain our demographics, if we do not stop immigration, then our death is certain. We are here today to set aside our minute differences on historical events or versions of ideology. We are here as Australians, proud and true and thoroughbred. In this struggle for life, our nation must secure its existence. And the first and most reasonable step to secure not the politicians' Australia, not this new Australia that they're trying to build, but our Australia, the Australia we were bred in and raised in. If we want to secure our Australia, not their Australia, if we want to secure our Australia and not Parliament's Australia, then we have to stop immigration and become a nation once again. If we wish to survive as a nation, we must organise. I'm not asking anyone here to join my organisation. The fighters will go to the front, and I saw that today. But for everyone else that's here, you need to organise. You came down here as individuals. You came down here with your close friends. We need to come down together as communities, as churches, as footy teams, as workplaces, and as political organisations. I'm not here to sell you t-shirts. Those people are rallying on a different day.
Get out! Get out!
Sorry, there's a disruption. There's a communist trying to get to the stage. My final point to all of you, my final point, and this is what I want you to go home with. is that next time we do this rally, you come as an organization, you meet friends here today, you connect with people online that share your values and your vision of what you want Australia to be. And we sit at the table and we allow each other to speak. And next time, representatives from your organization stand up here and speak in front of Australia and in front of the world. This is only the beginning. You must organize, you must form groups. They don't care if you're complaining. They ignore you. The people that are hurting this country, the people that are destroying it, the people that have caused your suffering, the people pushing us out of housing, the people pushing us out of our neighborhoods, they don't care. They do not care about your complaining. The only thing they will listen to is your organizing. When you organize into groups, then they fear you. Then they attack you. Then they come after you. If we want to see change, if we want to enforce the future that we want as a nation, it's not about voting Liberal or Labor and changing it up every 3 years. It's about Australians coming together as communities and voicing their politics in the home, in the workplace, and in their community events, and having the strength to put forward what they believe and not allow these wokes to rule over us and tell us what we're to think. Aussie, Aussie, Aussie. Aussie, Aussie, Aussie. Aussie, Aussie, Aussie. Aussie.
We're here today because we're not here because of their skin colour, we're not here because of race, we're not here because of what they look like. We're here because this country has a serious issue at the moment and we have to pay for these people, and we're fed up of paying for these people that have come here and they get everything for free. They get healthcare for free, dental care for free, free phones, phone contracts, contact lenses, glasses, absolutely everything they get for free, and we've had enough of it. We're a fed up nation, we're a fed up people, and again, there's people over there shouting racist, far right. There's no far right, there's no hooligans here, there's no racism here, it's nothing to do with skin colour. I'll actually say, let's call a referendum tomorrow, and anyone who votes for the refugees or asylum seekers to stay here, anyone on the left should have their tax raised to 70% minimum and should free up a space in their house. If they want them here, they can pay for them and make the space for them. And anyone on the right doesn't pay anything and doesn't make any space for them.
A gutful of the Albanese government's policy of over 500,000 migrants per year. Today we are gathered here under one big, blue, beautiful Australian flag. If you've got an Australian flag, raise it nice and high, please. Alba Moscow! Alba Moscow!
If you've gone today to one of those anti-immigration, I'm marching for Australia rallies, then don't you dare think about having Indian, Thai, Chinese takeout for dinner tonight. Respectfully, if you don't want immigration, then just stick to your bangers and mash for dinner for the rest of your life.
Two mass rallies collide in the city centre. Outnumbered and under pressure, police officers caught in the middle. Thousands turning out, despite Premier Jacinta Allen condemning the march, labelling it un-Australian.
So you think
Despite a blockade of police, rival protesters came head-to-head. The protest, called March for Australia, stormed its way to Parliament House and faced a lineup of the riot squad and police. Amongst the speakers that took to the stage, neo-Nazi leader Thomas Sewell, while others who joined the protest distanced themselves from the extreme views.
I'm not anti-immigration, it's just we're letting too many in at once and people in Australia are struggling.
I mean, there's always going to be that element that's going to take it a little too far, unfortunately. Most of us don't stand with them.
On the other side, a pro-Palestinian rally running for almost 100 straight weeks, also showing support for Australian migrants, while also criticising government policies towards asylum seekers.
But what we've seen over the last 3 years is cruelty. Cruelty towards refugees, Palestinians.
Hundreds of police have been stationed in different parts of the city throughout the afternoon, trying to stop protesters from different sides from coming face to face. But using force. Even deploying pepper spray against protesters amid the chaos. The large main group with the anti-immigration march making its way towards counter-protesters on Burke Street, also met with a line of police. Pro-migration protesters criticising officers, two rallies with opposing messages, and a city left divided.
In Melbourne, anti-immigration protesters and a pro-Palestine rally have clashed in the CBD, with pepper spray being deployed and several demonstrators assaulted. Hundreds of police blocked the groups from meeting near Flinders Street Station, but members from both groups marched down other streets away from the blockade. There were few police in the area at that time.
Well, I know who you are! I know who you are, you dumb pig! I know who you are, you fuckhead! I'll fuck you up!
Behind me are just some of the police deployed to the streets of Melbourne today, attempting to keep two opposing protest groups apart. Some officers were diverted from the manhunt for alleged cop killer Desi Freeman to bolster security here, with authorities expecting significant clashes. The riot squad, the mounted branch and the public order response team were deployed, forming a barricade between the two groups, but it wasn't enough to stop some breaking through. Officers were forced to move in as fights broke out, pulling people out of the crowd and pushing them back.
So guys, from where I'm sitting at the moment, that is a world away. For me, Australia always seems like this sunny paradise with endless beaches, laid back vibes and those easygoing smiles. But if we dig a little deeper into the streets of Australia, and you get to uncover this different tale, and that is a nation that's been grappling for years with big questions about who belongs, who is welcomed, and who is left out in the cold. So guys, this is not just about one wild weekend of protests. It's a story that stretches back to 10 years ago. Stories about razor wire fences in the outback, ugly riots on the sand, heated rallies in bustling city squares, and now these massive nationwide marches called the March for Australia. So our story starts in the dusty heart of South Australia, which is far from the ocean waves. It was in the early 2000s, and the government was running these remote detention centers in places like Woomera and later Baxter. The rule was straightforward. That is, if you showed up by boat without a visa, you will be locked up, sometimes even for years. But you know what? Every Easter, that quiet desert would come alive with fury. Hundreds of protesters would trek from all over the country to gather at the gates. And in the year 2002, at the Woomera, around 1,000 activists showed up, chanting for the asylum seekers' freedom. Of course, things got intense. Fence rattled, chaos erupted, and about 40 detainees actually broke out. Most of them, they got caught or sent back really quick. Of course, the news headlines, they went wild. Then came the Baxter protests in the year 2003 and 2005. People camped out for days, facing heavily armed police. So these were not just anti-immigration protests. But let's talk about December 2005 on Cronulla Beach in Sydney. That is, a day turned from postcard to battlefield. After an assault on two lifeguards, an incident amplified, of course, by talk radio and mass text messages. Thousands gathered on the sand, wrapped in Australian flags. Some chanted slogans and attacked people of Middle Eastern appearance. The following night, retaliation spread to nearby suburbs. The so-called Cronulla riots shocked the nation. Dozens were injured, hundreds arrested in the weeks that followed, and new police powers were introduced to prevent similar unrest. But beyond the legal response, something had changed, totally changed. Cronulla revealed how quickly fears about immigration, identity, and territory could spill into raw violence. A decade later, in the mid-2010s, another wave of protests took shape, this time in the city centers. The movement was called Reclaim Australia. Its message was blunt: oppose Islam, stop multiculturalism, protect Australian identity. And from Melbourne's Federation Square to Sydney's Martin Place, rallies drew hundreds or sometimes thousands, but they were always met by counter-protesters, unionists, left-wing groups, community coalitions. They were determined to block what they saw as racism. The clashes grew heated, with police often caught in the middle. What made this period different was social media. Facebook pages, YouTube channels, and online forums connected small local protests into something bigger. And of course, politics wasn't far away. Figures from Pauline Hanson, One Nation Party, and other populists echoed themes from the rallies. Lines blurred between street, protest party, politics, and the online world. And by late 2010s and early 2020s, authorities noticed something sharper. Extremist group trying to hijack the protests. That was bad, of course. Small but vocal networks of neo-Nazis and white supremacists began appearing at rallies, waving flags or chanting slogans. Their presence made headlines, of course, and their symbolism sparked outrage. Government responded. So the states passed laws banning Nazi salutes and outlawing extremist symbol in public. Police intelligence units tracked these groups closely, warning that economic anxiety, that is about housing, jobs, and wages, was being exploited by these extremists who wanted a bigger culture. Well, this was not unique to Australia. Similar patterns, they were playing out in the America, in Europe, and even in my own continent. But Australia's story carried its own long shadow, from the white Australia policy of the 20th century to the multicultural experiments of the 1980s and 1990s. So on August 31st, 2025, tens of thousands of Australians marched in cities across the country under one banner, that is March for Australia. In Sydney, huge crowds walked through the CBD, chanting against mass migration. Police, of course, deployed more than 800 officers to keep order. And in Melbourne, the protests collided with pro-Palestinian counter demonstrators, and police resorted to pepper spray and stun grenades. In Brisbane, nationalist chants filled the air. Adelaide saw around 15,000 people in Randall Park, where a few arrests were made after clashes with extremists. The kind of government allows two groups to go for demonstration. So smaller rallies echoed in Perth, Hobart, Townsville, and Darwin. The stated concerns were clear: rising immigration, housing shortages, hospitals under pressure, transport congestion, and stagnant wages. For many, these were real, everyday frustrations. But extremist groups also turned up. Neo-Nazi symbols were spotted, and known far-right figures tied to grab the microphone. Organizers claimed that, they did not welcome these groups, but the images told a different story. And the government condemned the rallies as divisive and very dangerous. Today, nearly half of Australians were either born overseas or have a parent who was. It is one of the most immigrant-rich countries in the world. That reality makes immigration a permanent issue, not just a passing debate. So guys, Australia is also geographically unique, and it sits on the edge of managing both plane arrivals and boat arrivals. Its history includes the old white Australian policy, the multicultural wave of the late 20th century, and decades of controversial detention policies. Every protest, every rally, every clash carries that heavy history behind it. So what do we learn from the Australia's story? What do we learn? First, that immigration is not just about numbers. It's about identity, fairness. Secondly, and whether the system of housing, hospitals and wages can keep up. Second, that ignoring legitimate pressures gives extremists the chance to step in and twist the narrative. And thirdly, that the fiercest battles over belonging don't just happen in parliaments or ballot boxes. They happen on beaches, in city squares, and in the streets where ordinary people live their lives. From humorous fences in the desert to cromulous sand to Melbourne Street, and now the March for Australia rallies. This is the long arc of a nation wrestling with what it means to belong. And watching from another continent, I can't help but see a lesson for all of us, that diverse societies must do two things at once. They must call out hate without painting every critic as hateful, and they must invest in the basics, that is housing, transport, wages, and that fear doesn't find fuel. Australia's protests are not just Australia's story, they are a warning, a reflection, and a case study for the world. See you in the next video.